nature to show that we're building on from success. If you were a journalist or a member of the public reading that, you'd think, oh, well, that's failed, and they're now 24 months on rewriting it. It's succeeded to a certain extent. There needs to be some improvement, and it should be reflected in option 2. It's certainly not written that way.
Can we ask Mrs. Mackie for the...
He raises a good point that our perhaps one-line descriptor after option 2 is actually incorrect when you look at paragraphs 51 onwards, which actually describe what we're proposing, which mostly align to what Councillor Brewer and Councillor McDonald.
Councillor Brewer could come over here with
apologies,
with those words. That would be very helpful, and may be able to get this thing moved forward. So come over, Councillor Brewer.
You're going to accept this kind of almost an amendment from me.
Yes.
And we might vote for it. You might win this one, Cam.
Councillor Clove. Oh no, Councillor Penrose next. Councillor Penrose.
It's like Barack Obama on the TPPA. It's going to happen eventually.
No, I think they're good suggestions, Councillor, which may help to move us forward.
Thank you, Mr.
Councillor
Chair.
Penrose.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I'm pretty much where Councillor Brewer is, and for the reasons being we've heard this morning. I just want to acknowledge the presenters here today coming forward, and the reason why I say that is because we hear about Wanganui implementing a bylaw, but what I haven't really heard or seen evidence of is how they've actually implemented that bylaw and how they've enforced that bylaw and what they've done. Because if I look across the DHBs across the Auckland region, and if I use Middlemore Hospital as a prime example, they've had smoke-free in their grounds for I don't know how long now. And I was just there the other day, and they're out there with their wheelchairs and their drips and their IVs.
Is this a question?
Yeah, it's getting to a question. And their lures in their arms.
Feet up.
And a fag hanging out of their mouth. And the garden's full of cigarette butts. And that's probably 3 or 4 years on since we have had a smoke-free grounds. And good luck to the people trying to enforce it. Mr. Chair, if we're to go down a road of a smoke-free, my question to you is, to the staff, is how easy will it be to implement and to enforce, and how will we enforce it?
I'll put that to the officers.
So you're talking about option 3, the potential bylaw? Yep. So as you know, we have prosecution available, which costs us approximately, I don't know, $3,000 to $5,000 each time we take a prosecution. Our experience at the moment in terms of ability to pay means often for these social issue-based bylaw issues, the ability to pay comes in. So we've taken a $3,000 to $5,000 prosecution, and either they're discharged without a fine, or they get a low fine of around $220. Is that correct, Grant? Around about. So that's what we would have at the moment, if until some point in the future government gave us infringement.
So, Mr. Chair, my summing up is we're an unknown.
No, you've asked the question, you've got the answer. You don't have to sum up the answer. Thank you.
I'm interested.
Councillor Clow.
Are we discussing B as well, or is that later?
Sorry, P. B, yeah, B.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
Councillor Brewer's got it in his amendment there.
well, we've got B there as well. Carry on. Answer the question.
Targeted demographic.
Order, Councillor.
I'm trying to help again, John.
No.
Is this Councillor Crumb's amendment?
No.
So why?
It's Member McDonald's.
Okay, I do have to question why we put a geographic region in there. You know, I mean, obviously Murray and Pacifica. I mean, if
The office has actually mentioned that, the Southern Initiative, so you can just...
well, you know, I mean, what about the Western Initiative? What, you know, I mean,
Glen
the issues across
okay.
across the city.
Let them answer the question.
So through the Chair, the Southern Initiative is one of the specific targets in relation to smoke-free goals in the Auckland plan, so that's why there's a specific focus on that.
East Auckland.
Thank you.
Forget about those.
Mr. Chair, can I just get clarification on what I've foreshadowed? I've just talked with you and Dean about how this is now beginning to feel very similar to what I've foreshadowed, but
Yes.
We're about to get very confusing here.
Yeah.
So can we, perhaps it might be a good idea to show on the screen what I've foreshadowed, or do we just keep amending this? I might like, if we're going to amend this to what is already very similar to what I've foreshadowed, then I'd like the opportunity to add another amendment tweak.
Okay, well, if that's the case, I've got no problem with that. If we can move it forward, because sorry, Mr. Kimpton can talk.
So maybe it's just worth me reading out what Councillor Brewer has proposed with a small tweak from me, Councillor Brewer, and then we can make that decision. So we would replace the detailed wording under option 2, develop a new, we'll have to look at that wording too, won't we? But the detailed wording would read, revise the existing 2025 smoke-free policy, redeveloping our existing policy framework and intent with a more targeted demographic approach and a greater emphasis on more effective implementation. So that's the wording proposed. We'll get the bold title modified to reflect that. Just haven't had time to think that through. So that's what the proposed wording is.
For the sake of clarity, may I suggest that we don't put in option 2? It's just getting confusing.
So
If we're going to talk about strengthening what we've already got, then essentially that is option 1, and that's what I've foreshadowed. But if we're going to amend 2 to say the same thing, then take out 2.
So we could...
Just give us a title.
We could, for the
Take out
purposes of this
options
resolution,
altogether.
remove references to option 2 and option 3, because these are just resolution actions, aren't they?
good. Correct.
Just do
that. Correct. And
Would you be okay with that, Kat? So we could remove references to options, then the wording is the critical thing, not the option.
That's right.
And the first one could be effectively pick up on strengthen the existing policy and its implementation. We put the wording that Councillor Brewer's proposed.
Targeted demographic.
Roman numerals 2 would be progress the investigation of a smoke-free bylaw. Yep. We could leave the wording as it is. And then you've got a new B that's been proposed, and subject to any agreement or modification on that, you would agree that as part of that development, it would target those communities most in need.
And I also
Take
have
out
a new
Southern.
C.
You can take out Southern
And you
Initiative.
can take out Southern
Initiative
because
and-
then it's not geographically...
Yep.
Yep, I'll be happy with
And I
that.
have wording for a new C
Resident.
around council contracts.
Okay.
So I'll draft that and bring it to you.
Yeah, okay.
Get him.
So we got Councillor Lee now.
Yeah, I agree with the way forward as proposed by Councillor Brewer. I just think, I mean, this is a very important matter, but there are district health boards and the Auckland Regional District Health Board and bodies like that. So I think we have to be careful of the appearance of endless planning and policy making over and over again. Our policy is pretty new, and if it's not working, then we need to amend it, and that's normal. But starting all over again, and then starting bylaws and everything else, it's a huge bureaucratic effort. And I just think we have to avoid the effort of the appearance of endless policy making, and being careful not to be moving into the responsibility of other agencies, particularly health boards. We've got enough on our plate as it is.
Okay. Chris? Thanks for that. Chris? I had you down here. You speaking?
Sorry?
Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm
No?
happy with those
Linda?
amendments.
I'm not quite sure if we're debating or questioning at this point. Questions.
Question.
No, I'm fine.
You right now?
I'll reserve my right to speak in the actual debate. Thank you.
Question. Chris Fletcher?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Notwithstanding the referencing in the report to the adoption of the policy and the need for a review in 2016, I just wonder whether Mr. Kimpton, as the authoriser of this report, can give me a little backgrounder. We've heard about issues around prioritisation, and whilst I have welcomed Council's policy on this since 2013, it concerns me that this has not gone to a committee beforehand. It's come here and it's become a little untidy. I understand that the wording can probably bring council together and find a consensus on this. But I'd really like, it would be instructive for me to know the procedure that you authorise in order that you can bring matters of such significance. Given the amount of time, I have regularly funded the Cancer Society, having all their staff here today, that there is a huge amount of work being done right across the community. I really want to know, is this the best way to advance policy?
I'd like to refer the question, and thank you, Councillor Fletcher, to Kat Markey, who's been leading this piece of work and has the background that you've asked for.
So this committee brought the review of this policy document forward. There was a resolution that we undertake the review. This committee's the delegated committee to make the decisions on that, and that's why this has come to you, as requested.
Thank you.
Councillor Casey.
Well, it's just a related matter that did come up earlier, but given that we do have a share or shares in a tobacco company, can Mr Kimpton please tell us how that's going to be dealt with in terms of us developing this progressive world-first smoke-free policy, and we've got tobacco company shares? What are we doing about that?
We've already talked about that.
So,
Sorry, it was through the chair to Mr Kimpton, but it did come up earlier.
I was just telling Mr Kimpton, if he doesn't know, we're getting a verbal update at Finance and Performance on Tuesday. Monday? Tuesday.
that's correct. The Chief Financial Officer will provide an update on that policy and that particular issue at Finance and Performance next week.
So are you confirming that we do have shares in a tobacco company? Because I've only heard it from Radio New Zealand.
Yeah. So I'm confirming you'll get a complete update at next week's committee. I've not had a look at the shareholding that we have as an organisation personally, and there may be others that have here. But in any case, the important point is that next week at Finance Performance, that issue will be addressed.
So under this discussion today, which is indeed smoke-free, we should make reference to it in a D, saying that we would wish to divest ourselves of any shares in a tobacco company.
No.
We're selling it down anyway.
Mr Chair, there is a motion that...
Getting rid of it.
There has been a suggestion that we, well, Councillor Darby can talk to it.
With the Chair.
Could I just have a response to that question?
Well, Councillor Darby has I haven't seen it. It's obviously further. Yeah. We can't see it here.
Point of order, Mr Chairman, relevance to the actual recommendations.
Totally relevant.
Because this is actually about looking at the smoke-free policy or doing a bylaw. It's not about what we're doing in our,
reducing
in our finance
harm
and
from
performance brief.
reducing harm from tobacco.
Look, I've just seen this for the first time because we're sitting down further on the screen. I'm going to rule that is a matter that's coming up at
I'll second it.
at the relevant committee.
Yes.
At the relevant committee in the next couple of weeks. Next week. So that is the appropriate time to do that, to deal with that, when we have the relevant and appropriate information. I'm not aware of that at the moment. So let's deal with that next week. Thank you.
So just, Mr Chair, and that's what it says. It's not like putting our heads in the sand that it doesn't exist, and it's just expressing concern and noting the matter will be addressed by the CFO, and this is confirmed in an email which I actually did copy.
Well, I'm not going to accept it. That's
Under what standing order, Mr Chairman? Under what standing order?
Well, I think it's the relevant committee. It's going to the relevant committee, which is going to happen next week. Thank you. So,
which standing order was that?
We've now. It's the chairman ruling.
Which standing order are you using?
I think it's in the standing orders that the chairman has the final decision as to how the business of the committee will be managed.
Stephen Town has confirmed that he will be.
It's not in there.
Yeah, well, that the committee secretary has pointed out that amendments are to be relevant to the issue, and I don't think
totally relevant.
This is not.
Not relevant.
It doesn't pertain directly to this. It's going to be dealt with.
Totally relevant. Totally does.
Order. Moving on. So I'm going to move. We've now got the revised motion here. It's been moved and seconded. It's obviously sorry.
If we're happy to confirm with the staff.
If the staff are happy with the general tenor of this motion.
We've got it, it's part of the investigation.
Sorry, are you clarifying that you are doing both a review of the policy and investigating a bylaw?
Developing our existing policy framework and intent with a more targeted demographic approach, greater emphasis on more effective implementation, and progression of the investigation of a smoke-free bylaw, commence the statutory process for investigating a draft smoke-free bylaw to implement the council's new smoke-free policy. So it's going to be done in tandem, so that obviously the direction there is that we don't lose any time and things are happening in tandem.
Mr Chair, should we in A1 take out redeveloping and just put in strengthening?
Yes.
I mean, otherwise would you interpret that as starting again? So we need to strengthen our existing policy framework, not redevelop it?